hours ago. Warning, the following contains Avengers Endgame spoilers. This week is the Independence Day holiday in the United States, and what better way to celebrate than with everyone's favorite all-American web-slinger as he goes on a European vacation. Spider-Man: Far From Home arrives in theaters over this holiday week, and needless to say, people are excited to dive back into the Marvel Cinematic Universe after April's climactic Avengers Endgame. We've already covered the lingering questions from that film that we hope Far From Home answers, but those are just some of things we're wondering about as we head into Spidey's latest adventure. Far From Home is the first film after Endgame, the last film of the Infinity Saga, and it features a character called Mysterio, so yeah, there be mysteries aplenty. With that in mind, here are the 8 biggest questions we still have about Spider-Man: Far From Home. How have Peter and Nick Fury never met? One of the more curious details of the Spider-Man: Far From Home teaser trailer was Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury showing up to put a damper on Peter Parker's vacation. Fury implies that it is the first time that the two have met, which seems rather odd following Avengers Endgame, where the two both attended Tony Stark's funeral. So Spider-Man: Far From Home will have to address that in some fashion. There are possible explanations, like the fact that Nick Fury was being his typical shady self, hanging out at the back of the crowd, and he and Peter simply didn't cross paths. There's also the semantic explanation that they've met, but addressing him as Spider-Man means that he now knows Peter's secret identity. Peter's attendance at Tony's funeral could just be chalked up to him being an intern at Stark Industries, so it would be good to find out how Nick Fury knows who Peter is, beyond just being a spy. What will happen with Peter and MJ? In Spider-Man: Homecoming, Peter Parker's crush wound up being the daughter of the villainous Vulture, which is not ideal. After that, Peter's romantic prospects can only improve in Spider-Man: Far From Home, and he has his sights set on Zendaya's Michelle MJ Jones. She was an intelligent, but snarky loner in Homecoming, and in Far From Home it seems that there is real romantic potential for her and Peter on their study abroad trip. The two are both snapped and can bond over that experience, and it appears that MJ discovers Peter's secret identity, which should also bring them closer. So will it finally happen between these two? It seems like this romance will definitely develop in Far From Home, but in the trailer Peter also mentions concerns about putting his friends in danger. Is becoming the next Iron Man that the world needs mean Peter has to distance himself from the people he loves, including MJ a la the end of Sam Raimi's original Spider-Man? What's Mysterio's deal? Jake Gyllenhaal joins the MCU in Spider-Man: Far From Home as Quentin Beck, aka Mysterio. The trailers have set Mysterio up as a refugee hero from another dimension, but given that the character has a comic book history of being a villain that uses illusion, hypnotism and all manner of trickery, he's probably lying about something. But even if we can predict that twist, the what and the why are harder to suss out, and something we will be eager to find out the answers to in the movie. First off, how did Mysterio and Nick Fury first meet up, and how did Quentin get past Fury's general mistrust of people? Also, if Mysterio is a villain, what are his objectives? Is he just a standard villain who does evil things because he's evil, or is he after something specific? Why the elaborate spectacle with the elementals, and what's his interest in Peter Parker? Is he trying to get Peter on his side because he needs him for something? What's with all the new suits? Tony Stark was a great mentor to Peter Parker, and in Far From Home it seems that Peter will be taking a page out of his mentor's book by having an extensive wardrobe of superhero suits. It looks like he begins Spider-Man: Far From Home with the Iron Spider suit he got in Avengers: Infinity War and also used in Avengers: Endgame, but that won't be the only one he wears in the movie. From the videos and trailers we've seen, Spidey also wears his Homecoming suit, as well as 2 new ones. Those 2 new suits are a stealth suit that apparently is a bit too tight, and a black and red suit that it seems Peter designs himself. The marketing has given us some idea of the powers of these suits, but we still want to see them in action, know why he switches them in the film, and if there are any suits we haven't seen yet. No, he wears the stealth suit to stay low-key while in Europe, but why does he need the black and red suit when he has the Iron Spider? Or is that suit simply not available? Is there really a multiverse? And if so, how? The biggest can of worms for both this film and the MCU moving forward got opened when it was revealed that Quentin Beck is from another Earth and the multiverse is now in play. That is presumably how both he and the Elementals came to this Earth. Our initial thought was that this was a deception by Mysterio, but director John Watts has affirmed that the multiverse has come to the MCU. That could be another deception, but if it is true, this movie has got some explaining to do. Namely, we need to know how the multiverse works in the MCU, what are the rules. In addition, Nick Fury says that the snap tore a hole in our dimension, but it's unclear which snap he's referring to, because by my count there have been 3. Thanos' decimation snap in Infinity War, and then Hulk's snap bringing everyone back, followed by Tony Stark's snap to defeat Thanos in Avengers: Endgame. It may not matter which, but it would still be good to understand the mechanics of how the dimensional tear came to be. Will we see any other Avengers? As the interconnectedness of the MCU has grown, there have been fewer and fewer truly solo films, especially in Phase 3. Part of the beauty of Sony's relationship with Marvel Entertainment is that Spider-Man gets to be in the MCU team-up movies and MCU characters get to be in Sony movies. We saw that with Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark in Spider-Man: Homecoming, but as of yet, we don't think any Avengers will be cameoing in Spider-Man: Far From Home. In the trailer, Nick Fury says that Thor is off-world, and Maria Hill says that Captain Marvel is unavailable, but where's everybody else? A dimensional tear seems like it would be a top priority for all of Earth's heroes, so while Spider-Man can totally stand on his own as a hero and doesn't need anyone else to show up, I can't help but feel like it would be strange if nobody did without solid explanation. Just don't expect to see Sam Wilson. Peter maintain his secret identity. Ever since Tony Stark said, "I am Iron Man," at the end of 2008's Iron Man, secret identities haven't really been a major part of the MCU in the way they had been in the comics. Everyone just sort of knows who everybody is, and maintaining secret identities isn't really a part of the story. That isn't true for Tom Holland's Peter Parker. A big part of Spider-Man: Homecoming was his attempt to maintain that secret identity from his friends and his Aunt May. By the end of that film though, Peter's best friend Ned and his Aunt May both know about his secret identity. Then in the trailer for Far From Home, we see Zendaya's MJ basically calling out Peter on being Spider-Man and stating that it's kind of obvious. That raises the question of whether or not Peter will be able to maintain his secret identity at all at the current rate of discovery. His secret identity is an important part of the character, but I wouldn't be surprised to see an "I am Spider-Man" moment. Does it set up Phase 4? As we now all know, Spider-Man: Far From Home is the official end to both the MCU's Phase 3 and the larger Infinity Saga. That being the case, we are obviously wondering what comes next in Phase 4, and Far From Home could be our first glimpse of what that could be. We know that Far From Home does have end credits scenes and that those who have seen the film have raved about them. Now, unless they are purely comedic stingers, which doesn't seem to be the case, you would have to think we are in store for some sort of tease. But even a tease for the future won't necessarily set up Phase 4. We could just get a glimpse at what's in store for Spidey's next movie with hints at a future villain. That wouldn't be the same kind of setup that the Thanos mid-credits scene was in the Avengers. If the multiverse in Far From Home is real though, it seems possible we could get a real setup for major elements of Phase 4. These are just some of the things we'll be looking for as Phase 3 comes to a close. Spider-Man: Far From Home swings into theaters on July 2nd. Stay tuned to Cinema Blend as we break down the MCU's latest and check out our premiere guide to see what's headed to theaters the rest of the year. Blended from around the web. Let's block ads. Why?